Hello, my name is Rosalind Franklin. My team and I used X-ray diffraction to look at the structure of DNA molecules. X-ray diffraction is just a technique used to look at the atomic and molecular structures of materials. The material will cause beams of incident X-rays to diffract into multiple specific locations, and then by measuring the angles and intensities of these beams, we were able to produce photo 51, which gave us a better look at the structure of DNA molecules. My team and I were trying to prove that the structure of a DNA molecule was a double helix structure. The project occurred in King's College London in England. I moved there in 1950 after being awarded a fellowship and took over the project from Maurice Wilkins. In May of 1952, we were able to produce Photo 51, but then in March of 1953, I left King's College and all of my research behind due to differences with my colleagues. Between 1951 and 1953, there were a lot of countries testing their version of bombs. In 1951, the US started testing its nuclear bombs in Nevada. In 1952, Great Britain started testing its version of the atomic bomb, and in 1953, the Soviet Union started testing its first version of the hydrogen bomb. In 1952, King George VI died, and Queen Elizabeth II became Queen of England. There was also a lot of pollution occurring in London at this time, which led to thick levels of smog, killing over 4,000 people. At the same time, the polio epidemic was spreading through the US, killing over 3,000 people and leaving 57,000 children paralyzed until the vaccine was developed in 1953. In 1952, the theory of the Big Bang was put forward, discussing the creation of the universe. In 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick announced the discovery of the double helix structure of DNA after being shown Photo 51 without my knowledge. In 1950, I took over the project from Maurice Wilkins, who had previously been working on proving the double helix structure of DNA with graduate student Raymond Gosling. Gosling and Wilkins were unaware that I'd be taking over the project when I arrived. This led to animosity between me and Wilkins. James Watson and Francis Crick were also working on proving the double helix structure of DNA, but were unable to until Gosling and Wilkins shared Photo 51 with them after I had left King's College. Due to my previous work and expertise with X-ray crystallography, I took over the X-ray diffraction research as well as Gosling's thesis project. Once I had taken over the project, I was able to discover the two forms of DNA and continued research on Form A, which is the dehydrated form of DNA. Wilkins continued research on Form B. Originally, I did not think that Form A was a double helix structure like Form B was, but after further research, I was able to conclude that both Form A and Form B of DNA were double helix structures. Through my research, I helped determine the two forms of DNA, and although I initially did not receive credit for my work on discovering the double helix structure of DNA, Watson and Crick were able to publish their findings in 1953 after looking at my Photo 51. Yes, I believe I should have won the Nobel Prize for my help determining the double helix structure of DNA. And maybe if I had still been alive, I would have been able to win the award with James Watson and Francis Crick. But ultimately, James Watson and Francis Crick may not have been able to discover the double helix structure of DNA without being shown Photo 51, which they were shown without my consent after I left King's College.